Hey YouTubers, today I'm going to be replacing my cigarette lighter power outlet with this little gizmo. It has a USB, it has two USB outputs, so I'll be able to just plug in my USB charger and charge my phone while I'm driving, because I don't smoke, so I don't need a cigarette lighter. And I think this is more convenient, and it works a little better than these, I'll show you, these little things that plug into the cigarette lighter, because a lot of times, because this is spring loaded, it pushes itself out over time, and you'll plug this in to your phone, think it's charging, and it's not. So here's what we're doing. We're in a 2010 Audi Q5, and I'm going to show you guys the process as I go through it. So let me show you real quick what's going on. So I have my ignition key in, and down here, so this entire piece has to come out to get to the power outlet, which is down in here, because there are screws on the side here. There are no screws holding this in place. What I did was I came in here really careful with a pry tool, and so what I would do is pry it up, and then while I'm holding it up, then I come in with a flat screwdriver and I wedge it on the bottom and pry it up a little bit more, and you'll hear it pop out of place. And there are tabs here, here, and on the other side, same thing there and there. So once you pull it up a bit, you hear it pop up. Then the next step in the process is to put on your parking brake, put the key in the ignition, and then take it out of park, and neutral, drive, either one will work, but you could put it in neutral. And then once you lift this up, okay, once you lift it up a bit, then so there are two little ears down in here that go under this piece of plastic. And see, I can show you. All right, so you see that little ear, and you see I can push it down with my finger. So what you want to do is you want to push that down, because this plastic is held in place, it's not solid in there, it has a little bit of give, but you can push that down like so to get that air to clear it like that. And you're gonna do that on both sides while lifting this up and pulling it back, because there are two tabs. You want this little tab, which, oh my goodness, it's really hard to see down there, but there's a tab right here and a tab right here, and you want to make sure those tabs are fully removed from inside the lower console. Oh yeah, you can kind of focus on it now, because if you don't, then when you try to pull it back, you're probably going to break the tabs or just have a really hard time pulling it back. So I'm going to lift this out, and then I'll show you guys what's under there after the fact, because it's a lot of wires and plugs under here, a lot going on. So I'll try to unplug those and remove this entire piece so that we can get down here to the ashtray power outlet combination assembly. And actually, I can remove the ashtray. There's this little tab, and you just slide this over to the side, and the ashtray pops out, and you can remove that. So that's one thing out of the way. But yeah, I have to remove all of this to get to this, so I can remove the cigarette lighter. So I'm going to do that now. So I got this out, and when I was pulling on this, the entire climate control unit just kind of popped out of there. I guess there's no screws holding that either. There are two tabs here on here, and on the other side, same thing. And that's all that's holding the climate control unit in here. And that happened when I was pulling this out. So you could probably pull this out first just to get that out. And I was gonna take all the wires out and remove this unit completely, but I don't think that's necessary, because this ashtray assembly is held in by this and these two 8mm bolts. And so I'm going to remove those, and hopefully then this will just come out and I'll be able to get to the cigarette lighter. So I'm gonna go get my ratchet and my 8mm and take those out and see what happens. Okay, so once I took those two 8mm out, this kind of wiggles up and out of the way. Of course, there's the wire connector underneath here for the cigarette lighter. So this has, oh, it has lots of wire. That's good. Sometimes that wire is super short and you have no room to work with it. So there is the brown, which is ground, the red, which is hot, and then this gray one is the illumination. That's for your lights at night. So pretty straightforward. I like how this is looking so far. Right now I need to make a decision. Am I going to clip these wires and then solder on the new wires for that connection, or am I going to join onto these wires and leave the original wires in place, in case for some reason I would want to put a cigarette lighter back in there, which I can't imagine why I would ever want to. And then of course the illumination wire, I'm not going to use that anymore because the unit that I'm installing, this only has, well, I'm not even showing you guys the right thing. This gizmo only has 2 wires, so it is illuminated by the power wire, and then so there's only 2 wires on this instead of the 3 wires here. So pretty straightforward, and it's just 2 pigtails on there, and hopefully once I remove this unit from here, this opening will be the right size to put that in, and then screw in this back piece to hold it in place. If not, I might have to go in there and get creative with a Dremel tool. So what I'm gonna do is unplug this, remove the cigarette lighter, and then see if this will install in place or if I'm gonna have to modify it. So give me a second here. I took this out. It's unplugged here. I thought that I could unplug the back of the cigarette lighter here, but these wires are in these pigtails and they are riveted into this assembly. So when you take it apart, there's this black piece of plastic shroud that's sitting on top of this, blocking it off, and I thought that once he took that off, once he took these pieces off, that there would just be like little pigtail wires right here, but there's not. These are fixed onto here. You can't unplug them. But I think to remove this, if you look down in here, you'll see there's these little indents on the sides. There's one on that side, which it won't focus on. Let me see. Yeah, it won't focus on that, but there's a little indent in there, right there, and then another one on the other side over there. And so it's holding this clear plastic piece onto this metal piece. So I think if I pry it away from that, just get a screwdriver in between here, then I can push this metal piece out through the front and then get the plastic piece out through the back. So that's what I'm gonna try to do right now. All right, I got a pro tip for you guys. So I was trying to push those indents in, and what I did end up doing was I took these channel locks and I grabbed the metal piece of the cigarette lighter and I twisted it just clockwise, just a hair, so that the indents on the plastic weren't lined up with the indents on the metal anymore, and then started pushing, and you can see it started pushing through. So it's not lined up anymore, and it's just a little bit of friction holding it in place. So I should be able to push this out from the bottom and get it out of there. So that's the process. And because I was trying to get it, you know, to where those tabs weren't in place anymore, and it was really, really tight. But if I twist it just a little bit, then they're not lined up anymore, and there's really not much holding it in place. So now I'm just gonna try to push it out of there. Now that I have the indent, see how it's not lined up. I'll show you. See, this piece is supposed to be perfectly up and down aligned with this metal. This metal tab touches the little bulb here, and that's what gets your illumination at night. But yeah, I got that twisted, and I'm gonna try to push it out. So it came out just as I thought it would, which is great, except that now I can't get the plug out of here. But all is not lost, because this piece of clear plastic that's in the hole, this plastic, it has two tabs. It has one here on the bottom and one here on the top that's holding it in place. So once I push those in, this plastic should be able to go out the top the same way the metal piece did. So the plastic is holding the metal piece, and then the metal piece is holding the plastic piece from coming out of there. And once I get the plastic piece out, I should have tons of clearance to get this. That came out exactly as expected, and as I suspected, you can't get this fitting out of here. I made an executive decision. What I'm going to do is just clip these wires, solder these wires onto it so that I can plug them into here, and then this, I'm gonna have to break out the Dremel. So this piece is just big enough so that the bottom can fit in there, but it's not big enough that the threaded parts can fit in there. So I'm gonna have to break out the Dremel. That's the next step in the process. I got my Dremel out, and I went in. So if you're doing this, you want to go in from the back side for no other reason than if your hand slips for any reason, you won't mar the front of this and make it look ugly. You'll mar the back of this and nobody's gonna know or care. So yeah, I went in from the back side, and I went around here just a couple times because it was a really small amount, and now slides right in like so. So that's a perfect fit. The only problem that I noticed is, so the illumination for this lights up the inside of the cigarette lighter of the ashtray. So I'm no longer going to have that feature available. But if we're being completely honest, I don't care. I really don't care. It would be nice to have it still illuminated, and I'm sure if I put the effort in, I could make it so it's still illuminated, but that's not happening. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screw the back onto this, do some soldering, and I'll show you guys the results in a minute. This is soldered on now, and then of course I covered it up with electrical tape. I like going excessive on the electrical tape. I've never had an electrical failure where I caught somebody's car on fire yet, and I plan on keeping it that way. So I soldered the red to the red, and then the black to the brown, and then this gray wire, grayish blue wire, which is the illumination wire, I just cut that short so that there would be no wires exposed and it couldn't touch anything, and then just wrap the tape around it. So this plug now goes into that, just like the original did, and then once I do that, then everything should work just fine. And I'm going to reinstall this first of all, and then I'm going to install this, and then lastly my climate control. So I'm going to put everything back together and then plug in my phone, and hopefully no smoke comes out from under the dash. When you're putting this ashtray, let's see if I can, yeah, so when you're putting this whole ashtray assembly back in here, and you look in the back here, there's this tab and there's this tab, and they go into that hole and that hole there. If you slide it in and it goes above those holes, if it doesn't go into those tabs like so, then it'll screw in and everything will install, but then whenever you open this lid, it's gonna get caught on this part. So you want to make sure the tabs are in there, and it's pretty easy to see. And then once you get it in there, you slide it back, and then your holes are lined up for your 8mm, and we install those and then put everything back together. And there it is. You can see clearly that it's illuminated red. There were other chargers and other options. I got this specific one because the red illumination matches the interior of the car. Everything in here lights up red at night, so it just kind of blends in. You can turn it off, so I can touch that, and it's just capacitive touch. There's no physical button, and then if you touch it again, then it turns on. So yeah, that's it. I would like to plug it in and show you guys that it's charging my phone, except that I'm using my phone to record this, so that's not possible. All right, well, as usual, if you like the videos I make, click like so I know I should make more of the same, and if you want to see more when I do make them, hit subscribe. Bye.